My mom, who is now 87 years old, had mild dementia 2 years ago. We had to move in with her after selling her house and getting rid of almost everything. So he treats her like a queen and brings her fresh flowers and her favorite foods. Have you read it, girls? What is the one thing about your significant other that you absolutely adore? Before we moved in, he would have 2 to 3 hour phone conversations about annoying things like getting her taxes done and scheduling hair and nail appointments, which made me envious. All I know is that he loves my mom, who can be really annoying at times. She can't help but bless her heart after she asks what day it is. He answers her respectfully and in a way that is kind and humorous to her. He is the man who stared at me. In story 2, he did this while I was watching TV. When I turned to face him, he simply grinned even more until he got the little crinkles at the corner of his eyes. He told me he loved me, of course, but I am still very suspicious and still can't. Finding out what he did wrong will be updated as soon as it is discovered. Story 3. At this point, there aren't many things about my husband that I dislike, even his snoring. He recently took a vacation without me, and I couldn't sleep at all without her snoring. We take separate vacations because we have a lot of animals, but the one thing I adore and have loved since the beginning is his scent. He doesn't say much and isn't inherently affectionate, but when he hugs me, it smells safe and comforting, even after a long day at work. I love the way he smells, and when he goes to sleep, he will talk about how much he loves me. You can ask him anything, and he will be honest. He will also pull me to him in the middle of the night. First, and works to be a better man for me, even though he's already a great man. We're in a long-distance relationship because he's in the military, but he always makes sure to call me or say goodnight when he might get into trouble. He's the love of my life, and I miss him. I get excited when he gets really excited. Story 5. He'll either send me lengthy text messages that take 5 minutes to read, or if we speak in person, he'll talk about cars, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Sports, or whatever game he's playing for almost 30 minutes, hardly pausing to breathe most of the time. I can't get a word in most of the time, but it doesn't bother me anyway, and at the end of his speech, he always apologizes. He takes care of me far more than he has to, which motivates me to improve myself in a positive way. When he gets tired, he sounds like a cute baby, and I love hearing him talk about things he's interested in, even though I may not understand all of it. Mixed with his accent, and then he cuddles me and gives me stolen slow kisses. I truly miss him now. Story 7. He is the best person I have ever met. He helps everyone, whether it's just holding a door or spending hours on the phone with a friend who needs him. He is funny, but he also knows when to be serious, and he always listens, even if I'm at a loss for words, but you can tell that he truly gets it. He's extraordinarily intelligent, but he's always eager to learn new things, whether they relate to his interests or mine. He's also attractive, so that's nice. He's just a sweet story. He cuddles with a kid, helps those around him, always goes above and beyond, and always wishes me a good morning. He always used my name when we first met, which was like seduction by kindness. He is open and affectionate, breaking the mold for bad masculine stereotypes while keeping some of the good ones, like walking me to the car and opening my door. I remember my last ex saying scornfully, "Yeah, go ahead and ask the next guy to say nice things and see how that works for you." Well, I don't have to ask that because my guy is so giving that he inspires me to be a better person and partner every day. Story 9. You never feel insecure with him because he is very dependable, has never let me down or abandoned me, always arrives on time for appointments, and shows genuine concern. He's very kind, funny, smart, and loves my cats. I love watching him pursue his interests and hobbies. He's a jack of all trades, and he's a master of a few passions that aren't really my thing, but I find it amazing when others have it. He's also creative and logical, so that's more than one thing storytelling. In addition to having excellent musical taste and being very romantic, he always says sweet things to me to let me know that I am the love of his life. He also has the admirable habit of never closing cupboard doors, so every morning we have this routine where he gets up. He is always patient, kind, and concerned about how I am feeling. There is no one I love more. Morning and prepares breakfast. I wake up roughly half an hour later, prepare my meal, and while I'm doing so, go around and shut the cupboard doors. You're fortunate to have someone like that in your life. Tale 11. I love his stupid jokes, and his ability to think things through amazes me in a lot of ways from his encyclopedic knowledge of. He uses his brain power for some of the most bizarre things, like jokes, puns, and awful wordplay that somehow find their way into any conversation or in between conversations. They're so bad. I mean, they're clever, but they're terrible in that perfect, terrible pun kind of way. And I adore every single one that comes out of his stupid, gorgeous brain. He could have moved to a trailer home in a poor neighborhood where generations of people had grown up and never left, and he could have stayed there, found every scholarship he could apply for, applied for every loan, worked full-time, and got a job that pays almost nothing, but instead he chose to stay with his mega-Christian ex-girlfriend. His college degree, he left the town to start over, and he changed everything. Now that he has a house, he's doing great, and he has a dog and me. Of course, he always dismisses it as if it didn't happen, but I can't imagine the strength it took to break free from the generational cycle. Though he struggles to get help, Story 13 shows that his brother continued the cycle. We have been together for 10 years, and he has always encouraged me to pursue my own goals. We've lived together for the past 4 years, and although his family is very well off, they've experienced a number of hardships that have made education difficult. His mental and physical health are also not at their greatest. Out of the conversation completely, but he's essentially a collection of medical issues who shambles around in a really attractive skin suit. At times, I've had to literally put him back together due to serious joint issues. Despite all of this, she helped me get through graduate school by working his act off at a sandwich shop that she eventually quit in order to support me. As a child, I loved biology and science, so it was always so difficult for me to speak up for myself. Growing up, I always felt like I had to do everything flawlessly to justify my own existence. Without his support, I never would have had the courage to enter this field of psychology, counseling, and social work when I got my first real job last year. When I was 16 or 17, they wanted highlight songs and the creation of a non-profit, but I wasn't really good at either of those things. I'm 60% certain that the stress caused me to acquire an autoimmune condition. It couldn't be that I couldn't trust myself, since I couldn't allow the cracks to reveal anything that wasn't entirely positive. It was important for me to have someone with whom I could be vulnerable and flawed, because I'm the oldest. My parents weren't undesirable by any means. They had their own hang-ups from childhood, and I believe they overcorrected me because I'm the oldest. He's also very attractive, and this box is great when we do have it, but I have no other experiences to compare, if never really been. I had previously thought that both men and women were cute, but I had never met someone with whom I had such strong chemistry. All of our friends knew we were going to at least hang out for a while before we started dating, and he always made sure I was smiling. Story 14. He always checks on me and makes sure I'm happy. He asks if I've eaten breakfast, but I usually forget because I'm too busy with school and other things. He plays basketball and needs a lot more than I do. He has a beautiful smile, is helpful to me and my parents, and is also very kind to my grandmother, who is 99 years old and my favorite boyfriend. That she met on Valentine's Day, and he bought me a single red rose and Lin chocolates. He visits me whenever I'm feeling down because of my toxic ex-friends, and we watch the Netflix shows we always watch together. We've been dating for almost a year, and I adore him a lot. We were born 4 months apart, and he recently turned 16, and I'll be 16 in 3 months. It's exciting for us both as happy 1-year anniversary in early and in high school as well, as we're graduating late next year. Story 15 sounds like something truly unique. He has experienced some extremely awful things, such as losing the majority of his immediate family to sad events one after another. He has every right to be resentful and angry, but instead he chooses to be joyful, makes jokes, and plays the clown. He is much more emotionally prepared than I am, and I appreciate that strength. I also want to express my gratitude to your significant other because it takes courage and a lot of mental toughness to face and think clearly through a difficult situation. He is a good story 16. I've been making fun of him ever since we started dating, and even after 12 years of marriage, she still thinks he's the sweetest boy I've ever met. He's just charming and always willing to help people, whether they are friends, family, or complete strangers. He's not a pushover. He just genuinely wants to help people. He's always been this way, taking my car and filling it up with gas without even mentioning it. I'll just find out when I get in the car. However, I used to have to get up for work at 4 a.m., so he would sneak outside while I was getting ready to warm up the car and put a coffee cup in it. He is also grateful for everything I do, even the smallest things, like when I took out the trash and he noticed me doing it on the doorbell cam and texted me, "Thank you," which is a literal way of saying I appreciate you. He also does things like boast about me to his friends, which is adorable. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and he has been amazing ever since. He has supported me while I've been ill in excruciating pain and on medication that made me swell up like a balloon and made my hair grow, fall out partially, and have a lot of hair, so it's not very obvious, but it's devastating to me, and all he wanted was for me to recover. Now that I'm more likely to contract the coronavirus, he's doing all the grocery shopping because he doesn't want me to go out and do it. He gets supplies for my grandma and delivers them to her home, and he delivers supplies for his parents. He'll say things like, "Let's FaceTime your mom so she doesn't feel so alone." He's amazing. He listens to Story 17 and rambles on and on about car parts and other car-related topics. He's a mechanic and rally driver, and I can't understand half of what he says, but it's adorable when he gets excited or tries to teach me something useful. I've also enjoyed watching him drive. Tale 18. I tell him about my day, and he listens, asks questions, laughs at the amusing parts, and follows up the next day. He knows the names of the students who irritate me, and he occasionally takes sides with them. He's the best listener I've ever encountered. Story 19. He truly wants to look after my mental and physical needs. It's wonderful to have someone who cares about my happiness and support. In addition, he makes me feel really beautiful, which is something I've never felt in previous relationships. I catch glimpses of myself in the mirror lately and think, "Damn, I look cute." It makes me feel so good about myself that even when he's not around, I notice that for days after we spend time together, I like myself more. I like how my body looks, how my face looks without makeup, and other things like that. It's such a wonderful feeling. Story 20. When we first met, he told me he didn't really like cats, which was a bit. I'm a cat lover, and when we moved into our own home, he said, yes, my childhood cat goes with us. He wouldn't consider leaving us, and we've since moved in together. He's definitely a cat lover, even though he still won't acknowledge it. All 3 of them adore him, and he adores them in return. It's very endearing to watch him pick up, cuddle, and cue the kitten. Evidently, he loves her. He worries that he won't be a good father when we have kids, but I'm positive that he will be fantastic. Story 21. Despite his rugged exterior, he is a loving, kind, and caring man who always gets excited to see me. His face lights up and he clings to me until I tell him to stop. But even then, he continues to complain and make amusing puns. The best part is when I roll my eyes at him. The reasons for his puns, story 22. He's a complete dork, which we both acknowledge, but he can rap with Crazy Bone and DMX like the best of them. The cutest thing is watching him act like a thug for 4 minutes. Story 23 describes how we can joke around with each other without offending anyone. We call each other derogatory names that look awful to outsiders, but it's all in harmless fun. Story 24 describes how incredibly sweet he is and how I first started hanging out in his room. When I would pretend to faint or gasp and fall backwards toward the door, he would always catch me. One time he threw a pillow at me and I said, "Ow," and he asked me if I was okay right away. He's so incredibly cute, gives the best hugs, and plays league with me despite his hatred of the game. He knows a lot of things I don't. Overall, he is a really wonderful person. I would love to have a friend like him even if we weren't dating, but of course I prefer it this way. I only wish you would let me pay more because I'm beginning to feel really bad about it. This is much more than one thing now, but he's very honest. He hasn't said, "I love you" yet, and we haven't dated for very long because he believes it isn't like that yet, but he says you make. He's very understanding when I'm busy studying RSOs, and one week when we're both free, I saw him for hours every day. You just hugged me forever, and I got up to go. That's good to hear because that's enough for now, and I'd rather hear a genuine assessment of how he feels than something pretentious and fake. Since it was getting late, he would pull me back down, walk all the way to the door, open it, pull me back in, and close it. It's good to know that you'll want it, especially since we don't often get to see each other, and I'm actually a pretty insecure person. I like almost everything about him, and I wish we weren't under lockdown so I could see. He truly is my bae. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, I couldn't choose because he treats me so well. Story 25. The night before, he grabbed a baked potato and bit into it whole, without any butter, cheese, or anything else. He then danced in front of me while I was sitting on the couch and unintentionally spilled a bowl of potato crumbs on me. So I'll stick with that recent one because, to be honest, it's my favorite so far. Having silly little moments like this is one of the best feelings ever. Take care of your guy, story 26. His smile when he receives a compliment from Ernest, his squeals when he sees something cute, and story 27. She's the first person that made me feel like I'm valuable. It's amazing when you realize that you may have used a significance of someone. A new fire ignites inside of you, igniting dormant passions, giving life a whole new meaning, and you feel a surge of energy coursing through your body. I love this feeling, story 28. He's the sweetest. Claims he isn't particularly sensitive or nice, yet he is highly sensitive to my sentiments and shows it by apologizing for innocuous jokes. He's adorable, as seen in Tale 29. I believe it would be simpler to ask what I dislike about him. If it makes sense, I enjoy how gentle he is with me. He holds my hand and strokes my arm, telling me I'm cute every couple of. The way he smiles, the way he gets embarrassed, the way he looks down and pales when he doesn't want to admit something, the way he always thinks about my feelings and thoughts, and the way he looks at me even when he's embarrassed, make me feel like I'm in Aiken story 30. I just love everything about him. Concerning things, not whether they are significant or not, or how he will laugh and try not to laugh when I say something humorous in a very serious situation. He is very respectful of everyone, and I adore my sweetie. He is everything and more than I could have ever imagined. For story 31, he is very skilled at speaking, making me feel better when I'm having a bad day. I'm also constantly in awe of how supportive he is of my future professional goals, such as not minding a long-distance relationship if I have to move away for school. I also treasure his random reminders, and I can't stop listening to him when we're together. Story 32. He lacks direction. Has accomplished a lot in life, traveled the world, and speaks 6 languages, but he struggles to find his way from his house to mine. 5 turns in less than 2 miles, which I find to be the cutest thing ever. Story 33. I adore him when he gets really excited about new hobbies or projects. Truly gets into things to the extent that he would begin researching said things for hours on end for months, and the next thing you know, he's already an expert, at least in the eyes of a non-expert. Though I'm not an expert in his fields, he can talk about anything for hours if you let him. He can pack so much knowledge into his brain that it amazes me. He's a man who never misses a moment in life, and he knows I can defeat him because of the way he defends himself when we play fight. It's lovely when he balls up and transforms into a turtle. He is so much more than he could have ever imagined. He enjoys helping me with the handy things around the house and is an incredible cook. He loves to cuddle as much as I do, and he wants to share his hobbies with me, and I love to share mine with him. We laugh a lot and have fits of giggles because we are so in love with each other. Every day when he comes home, I'm ecstatic. He talks to me when things get difficult, and when you work through any problems that arise, our openness is so important to relationship. And when I'm having a bad day, he gives me space, then comes to check on me and help me work through it. I do the same for him when he needs it. We didn't know how to help each other or do what they needed, but learning together helped us. He's taller than me. I'm already 5'10". He tells me I'm beautiful, and I love when he touches me, pulls me in for a kiss, and I melt. He loves listening to me sing in the car, and will turn up the songs he knows I love so I can sing them louder. He loves that I laugh, and that his eyes are incredibly kind. He has gorgeous curly red hair and beautiful blue eyes. His neck is where we cuddle before bed and when we wake up. When we first started dating, I had a strange epiphany that made me realize what love was all about. I knew he was meant for me, and every moment I spent with him was the best of my life. Relationships aren't always easy, but I want to deal with him if. You should watch the following video on YouTube if you liked this one. The algorithm believes you like it,